Welcome back to Down the Road. Sandra Spurgeon. Now, who is that? She's the one you call when you need help. She's the one you call when you want to get a divorce. She's the one you call when you're headed into a courtroom. She's a trial attorney. And we've got her on with us. Sandra, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Oh, thank you for having me, Joel. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Okay, so just some explanation. I mean, as a trial attorney, just simply on a strategic standpoint and because this is the world you live in. My daughter is a trial attorney and she's been watching it to see how it plays out. But this Johnny Depp, her trial that's going on, rank this. As you hear about it, as you watch some of it, what do you see?
Well, I would tell you up until about a week ago, I was astonished that they brought the case from California to Virginia. And then I began started sort of looking at how did they get it to Virginia, to Fairfax, Virginia. And it's because the Washington Post op-eds computer servers are housed in Fairfax, Virginia. So they were able to get venue there because that's where the data is electronically stored. The next thing I was very interested in is how is this these two Hollywood stars, how is this going to play to the public that, they're getting paid millions of dollars per role. I think that the median income in Fairfax, Virginia is a little over $55,000 in 2021 for an income household there in Fairfax. So how is that going to play that these two people are airing their dirty laundry in public? And so I really wasn't really interested in hearing their dirty laundry, but it's turned into Generation Z's O.J. Simpson trial of their century and of their generation. And it's just getting, as it escalates towards, I think they're closing, they will end up closing their proof this week, getting ready to do their closing arguments. I think that the public following is just, the ratings are off the charts throughout all media, TV or social medias. And so it's interesting whether those 7 jurors, if it will be the trial of public perception or what these 7 jurors end up doing.
So I compared it to like a car crash for many people. They may not want to look at it, but they've got to when they're going by it. And I do know a number of people that are following it. It's like you said. And in fairness, I watched the OJ trial. I watched and watched how all of that played out. And of course, I'm the very end of the baby boomer generation. What is it like, and how big of a factor is it that both of these individuals are actors? If you were the attorney and you wanted to cross-examine or you were trying to pull something out of one of these individuals to make your case, you're dealing with an actor, somebody that's paid to pretend there's somebody else or paid to say a certain thing that may not be true.
Oh, you're exactly right. And so, but you don't do that. You don't start in the courtroom. You begin your trial prep a good trial attorney knows your trial prep begins when that client walks through that door. And you do your work during the discovery depositions. And you never ask a question. A seasoned attorney never asks a question at trial that was not asked in a discovery deposition or in a pre-trial proceeding, because that's how, especially a Hollywood actor or actress, when they're prepped for trial, it's really the spotlight right now, right? When they were having their depositions taken, all these attorneys are practicing other cases, and this was one of many high profile, but yet, Johnny Depp had a climb up the mountain type hurdle to overcome because of him losing the case with when he sued the Sun in the United Kingdom. So, his attorneys have had all of this time to prep him and be do not be dismayed. That courtroom appeal, those slight smiles that he's giving, the warm touches that he's giving with his attorney, and she's hugging him and smiling at him, those are all trial consultants. This is all very planned to make him appear, because what have they seen? They've seen him drunk in a corner yelling and screaming, breaking alcohol bottles. You've seen her behind a camera recording him for God knows what reason. What was she attempting to prove, that as if that was the love of her life? But, you know, that was very hard to watch. And I think for a lot of women, and that was hard to watch, that you would, or not just a woman, but with a man. I mean, with anyone who has been involved in that kind of relationship, or goodness, I don't know, who lives that way.
Yeah.
So their job has been to undo that damage during that trial, to bring back Jack Sparrow, who was warm and charming in all those movies. And they seem to have been pretty successful with it, at least under the public scrutiny. Not sure about the 7 jurors that will be making the decision, but, you know, he's gaining ground with the public persona.
See, and that actually, Sandra, was my next question, which is the results of the trial. You know, number one, can you usually predict by the end of it how it's going to go and not be surprised by the jury? Number two, is the court of public opinion usually accurate? Because it appears from talking to people that have followed it very closely from all different points of view before this, it appears that Depp is winning. And so would it shock you if what they see on TV or see followed in the media might be completely different than what's going to happen in that courtroom, or what is happening in that courtroom?
You know, it's a toss-up. I mean, I would tell you that it's not what you say, it's how you say it. A lot of times, I mean, you know, when you're prepping a client and you're telling them and getting them ready, you're telling them it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And, you know, they've got PR. Johnny Depp has PR teams, and they're, you know, I mean, they're obviously Daily Mail, you know, all of these social media platforms, you know, they've got people intentionally putting articles out there in the social media, swaying that I mean, I would imagine that is accurate, that swaying the art of public perception. To back up and answer your first question, I think you'd have to be in the courtroom. I mean, they're not showing the jurors. And that's, it's very unusual. You know, like with the Harvey Weinstein trial, I covered the Harvey Weinstein trial, and guess what? I covered it out on the street, right? So we didn't have access into looking into the eyes of the jurors, watching to see who they believe has credibility, who has lost credibility, who is making eye contact with Johnny Depp, who is not. Those, as someone who sits in a courtroom, who analyzes jurors to try to understand, do you settle, do you not, do you move this, you know, are you shifting your argument? Do you need to go a different route? I call that a drop and roll, when you're having to change your tactics in the courtroom. It would take looking at the jurors to know whether the court of public perception is going to prevail, if that opinion is going to prevail. The other thing I think is important is to know whether the judge will segregate the jury from the public over the Memorial Day holiday. The case is scheduled to close. I think that Amber Heard counsel has finally awakened or woke up. They knew to stop. They weren't gaining ground. They were losing ground. They were thinking of putting Depp back on the stand yesterday, and then they withdrew him from their witness list and did not call him, which was probably very prudent. Today seems very antagonistic. Depp's experts appear to be very acrimonious they're not coming across as experts. They're coming across as angry. As an expert, you don't have a dog in the fight, and you should come across very even-handed. And they're talking about, an new and unusual form of how you assess damages. I don't hear that being explained to the jurors. I hear the angry undertones, and I don't know if that's intentional. If Depp's counsel is encouraging that, if the consultants are saying it's time to put the pressure on to show how angry we are, or if they're failing to rein those experts in, not sure. But I think that if the judge sequesters the jury over the Memorial Day holiday, I think we're likely to get a more even-handed result than if she allows the jurors to be out in the community over the holiday.
So, Sandra, what's the likelihood of a juror being in that room during deliberation and looking at everyone else in that room and making the case that these are two spoiled, rich individuals who both need to grow up, and they shouldn't be in front of us? They shouldn't have taken this much of our life to try to deal with a personal problem that falls upon them. Or is that already decided because you would have never allowed a juror like that on the jury?
Well, I think that's in cases when I am brought in to consult in a case, I identify problems, and it's very painful for trial counsel to hear, because my point is, that would be my point, is that you have two California socialites coming from Hollywood razzle dazzle to Fairfax, Virginia. Most jurors are paid under $25 a day for their juror service. I'm not sure what it is in Virginia. I know in Kentucky it's $12.50 a day, and they're angry that they're being ripped from their lives and their jobs. Their employers aren't happy. And so for what? We are, from all indications, indicators of mutual abuse. The real telltale signs of damages would be from from Disney and from the producers saying we couldn't hire Johnny Depp because of the public perception that he was an abuser versus he was, using substance abuse, or he was showing up late for work, or Amber Heard wasn't appealable to the public. We're not hearing that causation. We're hearing from experts on either side saying, well, this is what the data looks like. No, that's not what the data looks like. And so I think it's, it'll be interesting if the jury just says that's hogwash. Mm-hmm. If this is an issue, you've wasted our time. I'm sure it's a zoo. It's going to be, they're bringing alpacas outside the courtroom. This is an opportunity. What I tell jurors during voir dire when I'm trying cases is that you never have maybe another opportunity during your life to see the inside of what happens during a trial. Yeah.
Sandra, I began by telling people that you're the one I'd call if I was in trouble, and now they can see why. Thank you for coming down the road with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate it. She's such an expert, ladies and gentlemen.